afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our next in our interview series. And today we are so fortunate to have an industry leader here with us, Mr. David Macpherson, Vice President of International Division from JK Moving. Welcome, David.
Hi, Janet. Thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to join with you this afternoon.
Well, it's definitely a pleasure to have you. We are very fortunate because David has an extensive background in the moving industry with over 25 years experience. So we are very, very fortunate to have this industry leader today. So thanks again, David. So let's jump right in because I know you are a busy man. Now, given your extensive background with international relocations, and I've done a few myself, what are some tips that you have for someone who's considering moving abroad?
Well, back in the early days of my 25-year career, it was a lot different. You know, what the tips that I had back then that we used to use were getting the moving company in. Let's say you're going to Brazil. It's a booming country at the moment, but we would have our partner company in Brazil send almost like a care package to the transferee, the family that's getting ready to leave the States or wherever their origin is. And in it would be local newspapers and, postcards from that area and so on, and sometimes real estate information. But it would be like a binder of things that would be sent. Well, of course, that's a great tip to have back then. Nowadays, it's amazing what you can do by getting the family around the computer, and just going to Google Earth, going to the one site that is a tremendous value, and it's interesting because it's called the CIA World Fact Book. And of course, everybody associates the CIA not necessarily with world facts, but it's a tremendous site for learning about a country. And so there's just so much research that you can do now. And I must admit, I'm fascinated by the way technology allows you to now actually walk down a street in Brazil and do a 360-degree view of maybe the house that you're going to be living in because of some of the same street-level views that you can see within today's technology. Just as we're doing this on Skype, I could be walking around an apartment in Sao Paulo and showing you the apartment right as we're talking just now. I think there's just so many things that can make you feel that it's not that different from where you're leaving, and there's so many things to make you feel more comfortable about the adventure that you're going to go on.
So true. Because when we moved to the UK, we went on a pre-trip because some of the technology that we have available to us wasn't necessarily as readily available as it is now, and it will also help with the cost to keeping it down because it depends on the international relocation and the benefits that you have. You may not have that available to you in your back pocket. And now with the globalization of the economy, people are looking to move and relocate relatively quickly, and the pace of an international move is quite fast, as you well know.
Yeah, it starts out slow. It's an adventure. You or your spouse, you get involved with the interview process. You get you get a little bit excited, then you get the job offer. You get all of the benefits and things, and you start looking at them, and that's when it's kind of, I wouldn't say sticker shock, but it's a shock. Well, what are all these benefits? Is this going to be enough for my kids to go to the international school? Where is the international school in Jakarta? Is there an American school? What schedule do they follow? That's when it starts to, the questions start to build up into hundreds and hundreds. It's not just like, well, I've got to remember to disconnect the cable. I've got to remember to follow my mail. It's all these other things. We're going to be driving on the other side of the road. What kind of insurance do I need to have? You've done it. So you know how some of those things play out. But I think if the right person, the candidate that the company chooses to take the overseas post is got the right temperament, then all of those things just become part of the adventure. Exactly. And if they're older, like I'm looking at myself in that vintage of, well, where do I really want to end up for retirement? And we start to see people now, quite a lot of Americans, going to places that are good, where their pension will work well, where there's reasonable health care. So we're seeing people actually retiring and making permanent transfers to places like Panama. New Zealand has been a place that's been fairly popular in recent years. Still some people going into Mexico, although it's been a little bit more challenging in the last couple of years with some of their troubles. So we are starting, we are seeing retirees making those international moves as well.
This is exciting because you can actually keep up with your family that you're leaving behind by Skype and all kinds of things that make it much more attainable and not such a dream. It's becoming reality for many people.
Definitely, and I think who wouldn't mind having a grandparent living in the Bahamas that they could visit, and there's a lot of schools that are still sending students to places. We just helped a young girl, a friend of our family, was going to Scotland and was going to be in Edinburgh, and the mom and dad have traveled the world, never been to Scotland, but they were just worried for their daughter, and so we were able to sit down with them over dinner and just explain them. But what we were also able to do was have my wife's niece connect with this young girl on Facebook.
Fantastic, yeah.
Make connection, and so she landed in Edinburgh 2 weeks ago, and within 2 days she was out at the pub with a local girl who, she wouldn't have known anything about if it wasn't for today's capabilities.
And how powerful that is, because then you hit the ground running with some connections and you can build your support network so quickly, as opposed to kind of floundering a bit, especially as a student in a new area, although Edinburgh is a absolute beautiful city. When the sun is shining.
I'm from Glasgow, so it's there's a bit of that Washington Dallas competition going on between Edinburgh and Glasgow. But it is a beautiful city. I grant them that.
Yeah, it is pretty. The park in the center of town is pretty.